And
Hey, good
Siri.
morning, everyone. We are at Wednesday, July 9th. The market has opened, and I am with Daryl. How you doing, Daryl?
Doing fantastic. Good to see everyone.
And we are, in a way, kind of waiting for companies to announce their earnings, and I think that's what's going to move the market over the next month. Most definitely, next week we're going to have some interesting earnings. This week we have a couple companies like
Next
Delta
week, we're going to have some
announcing tomorrow,
interesting
but
earnings. This week,
I
we
don't know
have
that that's
a
going to
couple
be
companies.
all that important. Um, Next week, we start seeing some important businesses out there announce. And for weeks, maybe 6 weeks, we're just going to be in earnings day after day, day after trading day. And we'll see the market really move based on earnings. The big news is NVIDIA has touched $4 trillion. $1 trillion is 1,000 billions. It's a lot of billions. I remember when $1 billion was a lot of money. It's like, wow,
Yeah,
man, that's a lot of money.
yeah,
Can't believe that company's a, $1 billion in market cap. Now it's like crazy.
yeah. It's
So,
hard to wrap our head around $1 trillion.
yeah, but NVIDIA is the right company with the right technology at the right time. NVIDIA semiconductors are what create the accelerated high performance computing capacity that AI needs. AI needs really fast computers that can look at a lot of data and respond to the user. And to build the large language models and train these gigantic AI models, you need accelerated computing, or it would take decades to train these models, and that's just not what the market wants, right? Especially in the
Yeah,
US, we want it fast. We want like FedEx. We want it the next day. Now Amazon Prime, you can get it delivered in 2 hours. Well, these companies feel that the AI build out is strategic, and these companies have a lot of money. These companies are Microsoft, Google, Meta, ChatGPT. Um, there's a good number of really valuable businesses that are investing big in AI. Looking at the 1 year chart, they're at 4 billion, but the stock's only up 24.6%. I'm scratching my head going, why? I mean, I expected like 100%, but that's not the case. It's up 24.68. Interesting. And they've kind of gotten up there in stock price 148 a couple of times. I have been in NVIDIA, and I've been wrong, right? I'm willing to admit when I do fundamental analysis and then I look at businesses and make a decision for myself. And sometimes that decision proves to be way off the mark. And but I'm going to stick to my analysis. I'm not making up numbers when I look at NVIDIA. I look at their free cash flow. I look at the expected growth rates that they have on their GPUs. And I think they're priced 33% too high because their cash flows cannot sustain their market cap. It's just not there. If anybody else has this type of analysis and you can show it to me, or you can show it to the world and say, hey, this is my theory, this is my thesis on NVIDIA, that'd be really interesting. The story on NVIDIA has been they're they're the face of AI in a lot of ways because their GPUs are powering this big AI build out, which is super awesome, right? For that company, it is great that they're flourishing. I've known NVIDIA since they were a company that was really in the gaming industry, where that's how the company really began. Gamers had their computers, they were playing games, and they needed to accelerate the graphics they were seeing so that way they can play multiplayer games. And today we enjoy a very interesting experience as people play video games. And then NVIDIA went into crypto mining with Bitcoin. You know, the faster your computers are, the better chance you have of getting rewarded a Bitcoin as you participate in the Bitcoin mining era. And now with large language models being built, NVIDIA is just seeing extreme demand. So the fundamental analysis for me is that the stock's priced too high. At times, the stock kind of made sense based on what I'm seeing from a financials perspective. You see that the stock did trade down to $94, which was a great opportunity for investors to buy in that believed in NVIDIA. During this era, I kind of looked at my analysis and said, okay, well, I guess that's close to what I was thinking. But now the stock's really flourishing. We are in an expensive market, but I tip my hat to NVIDIA. Oh man, they have just been the company of the time. So let me let you share your screen, Daryl, and if you wouldn't mind sharing your technical analysis, that'd be great. If you want to
Okay.
share your screen. And while you get that set up, let me say good morning to some people. Blocks for Fun, very good to see you. Hope you're having a very good day. And hopefully your stocks are going up. Today we have a green day, so people's stocks should be going up. Shadow Guy, good morning. Cream Biggins, very good morning to you, sir. Thanks for all those good questions online that you've been sending my way. And thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. For members, if you want us to look at a particular stock ticker, put it in the chat. You're not a member, you want to see a stock be reviewed, no problem. $5 super chat gets your stock reviewed. And let me have Daryl take us through NVIDIA and his analysis. And if you can make your screen a little bit bigger, that'd be great, Daryl.
Okay. So I think we've talked about this before, but I originally bought NVIDIA at the end of November of 2023. And it was basically when it was trading with these two double tops, and then we got a breakout. And the original reason that I bought NVIDIA was I was talking to some younger investors that wanted to enter NVIDIA, but they were a little cautious at the price, you know, at all-time highs. So I showed they don't follow technicals very much. They just basically fundamentals. But when I saw it break out here, I said, this is a really good time to pick up when it's breaking out of a double top like this. And sure enough, I mean, it ran from $50 up to 97 or so. And then it consolidated for a couple of months and then started off on another breakout. So I've done the fundamentals as well, and I agree with you that it's priced around, from a fundamental point of view, about $105. But when I see technicals supporting a breakout, I'm willing to take a risk and enter in to a trade like this because I have a system, and I can show you how I do this, where I have stop losses in place. So with NVIDIA right now, this is looking at 6 months, and this is a chart that I look at every single day. But I use what they call chandelier exits to set my stop points, my stop losses. And you'll notice, okay, I have 3 stop losses. One where I'll exit or do a little bit of trimming, maybe 10%. If it falls below the second stop loss, then I'll maybe sell half of it. And if it hits the third stop loss, I'll exit out. of the position. So if you look at this red line here, here's the stop losses. Every single day, my stop losses were moving up basically as the price was moving up. And eventually it'll turn over, but I keep my stop loss there. And as the price starts coming down, if it hits that, I'll exit out at 10%. I'll do 10% of trimming, even if it's at a loss. I'd rather take a small loss than a big loss. So every single day, I update these charts. Takes me about an hour to go through all the stocks that I own to update these charts, but you'll watch those stop losses go up, and that keeps me in the trade a lot longer than I used to. When I would get up 10 or 15%, I may get out just because I don't think it can go up any higher. But by managing my stop losses like this, I stay in trades a lot longer than I used to. So even though the fundamentals are only supporting a value of about 105 per share, in my opinion, I'll follow this as long as it's going up. I'll follow the technicals as long as they go up and don't hit my stop losses.
Nicely done on NVIDIA. So I think the if the stock were to come down substantially, then you'd likely be out of NVIDIA because your stop losses are going to automatically sell the stock, correct?
Yes, and it's not a sell everything because we often see prices reverse, like we did. Here's the SPX. We saw them reverse. Had I sold out of everything, I wouldn't have had any of this. But I did do some trimming back here. I did take a little bit of a loss, just like everyone else, around April 7th.
So what happened if you had your stop loss strategy when it sold off during March and April? What occurred? Did it sell some of your shares?
I don't use automatic stop losses like in my trading tool. I used to quite a while ago. And what I found out is I was getting stopped out too often. And then the price would turn right around and
so you want to be notified, and then you look at the situation and then make the call, adjust.
Exactly. I don't do them automatically anymore. And then I used to, so I moved from stop losses in my trading platform. I moved away from that. I went to a percentage. So if it comes down 2%, then I'll do some trimming. Well, that didn't seem to work very well for me. And that's when I moved to what they call the chandelier exit. That takes into account the volatility of a stock, and then I apply a multiplier to that volatility. So for one stock, the stop loss may be 1.5 or 2%, but on a more volatile stock, it may be 6%. That way I don't get stopped out very often.
Got it. Okay. Well, congratulations on NVIDIA. Hopefully it keeps rising for you. We will see that I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And looking long term, 2 years, 3 years from now, what's your expectation of the stock?
2 or 3 years?
Where will NVIDIA be trading in 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I don't necessarily look that far out, to tell you the truth. It's so hard to tell. I have some optimism, I think, as far as these sovereign large language models. I think that is really going to come into play over the next few years. May take 5 to 10 years, but those are going to come into play, and those are going to be important for specific continents or even countries.
Yeah.
So
the one
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it looks like Saeed has a comment. I'm going to read his comment, then I'm going to kind of put my thinking hat on for a second. So Saeed's saying, I think demand supply rule behind NVIDIA, the only thing being smuggled to China. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the demand is there for NVIDIA, and NVIDIA doesn't report over the next couple of weeks. Actually, they're going to report August 27th, so we're like a month and a half away from that happening. So we have to wait a little bit on NVIDIA, but we'll kind of be told from the big hyperscalers, Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google
Yep.
Cloud.
Yep.
We'll be told what they're doing there, as well as Meta. Meta's investing big in AI. So the one thing that is where I'm concerned or lack confidence in the whole AI wave of there's a wave of attention, there's a wave of buying stocks, right? Of trading into this AI trade. But what are we seeing at the consumer of AI level, like the user? We most definitely see Gemini, Meta AI. I'll open up Meta AI. So this is the result that we can all experience around AI. Is it's kind of a different way of searching. You can create videos, create thumbnails. Okay, that looks interesting, and you can get information like, you know, what is the let's ask Meta what the intrinsic value of NVIDIA. What is the intrinsic value of NVIDIA stock using discounted free cash flows? Let's see if Meta is going to set me straight. And you can ask a large language model these types of questions. Did it take it? There we go. So look at that. Isn't that amazing? So that is kind of cool, right? So intrinsic value, $148 based on, interesting. Wait. So it has a couple of valuations. So 148 based on a discounted cash flow model with growth exit 5-year valuation. Okay. And then, so if they grow fast, they keep growing, it's worth $150 a share. If they don't grow fast and they start to see a decline, $91 a share. All right, that's rational. So this is the face of AI that consumers are using. Got it. Now, this is interesting, but I wouldn't make investments using AI. I have to go through the arithmetic, understand the business, and then make my investment. And I think it would be risky for an investor just to go to AI and go, okay, what stock should I buy? That's my opinion. You'd probably lose money because AI is not perfect. I've seen some really wild answers come out of AI. Now, where I'm going to is where's the revenue? Right now, Meta doesn't make any money on this. Gemini doesn't make any money on Gemini. ChatGPT is making some money, but nowhere near their cost. I mean, they're losing money like crazy. So I'm not seeing like the conclusion or the value output of AI just yet, and I can't visualize it. And I'm not sure how big it's going to be. Is it just going to be search with some bells and whistles? Is it going to fade? One of the things that I had bias against it was we've seen this experience before in Siri and Alexa, and the consumer thought it was neat for a year, and then they kind of like said it's not interesting anymore, and those solutions faded. Amazon poured a lot of money in Alexa. Google Home was something that Google tried to go after. It faded. I have a Google Home device. I bought my mom technology for her home. We never use it. It just faded. So I wasn't sure how long is the population going to be interested in AI. And for sure, I see students really be interested in AI. I see that. I got two young sons. One of them is all over AI. The other one is not. The other one doesn't touch AI, and he's studying a PhD. Um, the younger boy is finishing his bachelor's degree in college, and he's working an internship at a big insurance company. So, looking at like that theory of when is this era of AI going to start showing businesses the return on investment? When is Google going to start seeing revenue? When is um, even Microsoft, they released Copilot. It has not gone well. Users of Copilot have been complaining that this thing's kind of useless. It's just like another tool. But I'm doing spreadsheets the way I used to do them. I'm doing PowerPoints the way I used to do them. I'm doing Word documents the way, if you have AI write your emails, it does a decent job, but it doesn't. You want to write an email that's personalized in most cases. So let me stop there and have you weigh in on, do you even look at that, or is that like, what, not part of my process? But how are you tracking? Is this AI paradigm, is it going to be gigantic like everybody's saying? Is it going to be less than gigantic? Is it going to fade?
Personally, I think it will continue growing. I heard the CEO of Ford just last week say that he anticipates AI eliminating up to 50% of the white collar workers over the next, I can't remember how many years, but
Hmm.
5 to 10 years. So you're looking at probably some huge productivity gains from implementing AI for many tasks. Yesterday, I wanted to know how much the Q2 earnings overall had been decreased over the past quarter. And I asked Grok that question, and it, provided an answer just about like what you saw. But one of the things that I liked about Grok is it gave me every single instance where it gathered information to make that summary. So I could quickly go back and validate from the response that it generated the source of the information that they generated. And it did it much more quickly than I would have been able to go and find all those sources individually. It took 5 or 6 seconds to answer my question and provided all of the source information for that question. So I didn't have to just take it at face value. I could go and look at the articles and sources where it gathered its information. That's
Hmm.
pretty powerful. I mean, to me. And if I try to expand that to a large corporation, I see it being huge. And
I,
I can tell you, before I retired, one
mhm.
of the last things that I did was worked on an estimate for updating about 350 systems from older software, doing some upgrades to supported software. And our IT department at that time basically did an estimate that it was going to take about 300 people about 6 to 8 weeks to do an estimate for every single system in that company's IT organization. I sat down in one afternoon using machine language learning, which is artificial intelligence. I sat down in one afternoon. We already had the data collected, like how many systems does each system interact with? How many computers are in supporting each system? How many interfaces are there? There was about 10 different things that people had already collected all of the data on.
Hmm.
And in an afternoon, I wrote a machine language learning model that gave us an estimate in 4 hours. Compared to our management at the time that was saying we need 300 people for 6 weeks.
Hmm.
That is a
Interesting.
huge productivity gain.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So, yeah, we're going to see how this evolves. I think AI most definitely has a future. The the clear example is Waymo, right? So Waymo, you don't use you do not need to use any of your imagination. You could just look at the car, look at the videos, and say, wow, they have a machine, a robot, being instructed by a user by their phone, saying, pick me up at this location and take me to this other location. And it does it. And if you don't believe it, you can go to a city that has Waymos and you can order a ride and it takes you from point A to point B. Ta-da! No imagination necessary. This is real. So
Yeah.
that is pretty darn awesome. My observation is it just takes a long time. We can't go from idea to, okay, it's changed the world in a year. Waymo has been working on self-driving for 15 years, and this is one of the smartest companies in the history of business, Google. So AI in 10 years is going to be incredible. AI in 10 months isn't going to be much more incredible than it is today. And today, I don't know that it's changed my behavior a whole lot. Like when I analyze companies, I go look at their financials because I'm each company is different, right? Like when I'm looking at Google, I'm looking at a technology leader. When I'm looking at Citi, I'm looking at a big bank. When I look at Kroger, I'm looking at a grocery company. The qualitative pieces of information I'm looking at are different for those three different companies. That's a human being making decisions based on experience, based on skill, based on knowledge, and AI's nowhere near that type of decision making of, oh, this is the company, this is what is in context, this is what should be looked at. And every company would be slightly different. Some companies will resemble each other. I think Google, Alphabet's a lot like Microsoft in a lot of ways. I think they resemble each other. Um, but we'll see. This is Waymo is clearly an example of, hey, this is AI, it's real, and the Chinese are so advanced with their robotaxi business as well. So Nvidia is $4 billion in market cap. We'll see how high they get. Incredible, awesome. And looking at the rest of the market, looks like Google's up. Glad to see that. I'm a big Google stockholder. My biggest stock is Meta. That's up. Microsoft's up. All the bigs, look at this. All the big hyperscalers are up. Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. So this space is having a very good day. Very good day. That's what's leading the market. That's what's taking the market higher. Okay. And all right, cool. Now there's some questions from a couple of member investors. Actually, one wanted to look at symbol O and symbol VICI, VICI, two dividend payers, two REITs. Why don't we jump into those? I thought it was cool to talk about NVIDIA. We just talked about it for a half hour, and we'll probably
Okay, and
talk about it again.
his specific question was for young investors. So I'm
All
an
right.
old investor, and I am, in fact, Realty Income, symbol O,
Uh-huh.
is my absolute largest holding right now because
Okay.
it provides income, and that's what I need to bridge my early retirement to Social Security. So I'm a heavy investor in O and Vici both. Now the
Very good.
question is whether it's for a young investor. That's
Yeah,
a good question.
I have comments on that. So, so the way that I'll answer that is, as I've mentioned, I have two sons. One's 25. He's studying a PhD in philosophy. Really bright kid. Uh, doesn't care about investing, but he has a really good portfolio that his father manages. That's me.
Uh,
And so a 25-year-old, what would I buy from my 25-year-old son? Would I buy Realty Income or Vici? The answer is no. Why? The 5-year on Realty Income is a 3.81 rate of appreciation. And you could say, well, there's a dividend involved. Okay, perfect. So the dividend is 5.6%. So let's add 30% to the 3%. So you're up to 33, 35% total appreciation over 5 years. That's just not getting it done. I That's not the right thing to do. I think the best performing stock in his portfolio, and his portfolio is up 62% in about a year and a half. I looked at it about on the 4th of July or 5th of July. Now that's terrific. That's the kind of rate of return I want. And a stock that is in his portfolio that is flourishing is Netflix. So let me compare it to Netflix. So Netflix, we all know what Netflix is, and we look at the 5-year. Netflix is up 132% versus 3%. We look at the max, there's no comparison. Okay. Now, a 25-year-old is not going to retire next year, not going to retire 5 years from now. My son's beginning to build his career, and he'll be earning for 30 years, going forward. So he'll have a lot of years to earn money, put it into his portfolio. Having said that, this money that he puts into Netflix, if he puts $1 in and sees, because Netflix has been around for 23 years, that's a good compare. So if you put $1 into Netflix 23 years ago, that dollar would be worth $105,000. If I got $10,000. The point being is you want to grow your wealth and you want it to compound over time. And you do want to wake up 20, 30 years later and you put $10,000 in and you get $200,000 back. You get $400,000 back. Those are the types of investments that young investors should be looking for. The delayed gratification is involved in these types of investments because a dividend feels good. And Daryl's situation, and I'll be there soon, I'm 56, is a different matter, which is I'll put myself in, let's say 5 years from now, I'm like, okay, how am I going to buy groceries and pay for car insurance? And, I want to take a trip with my wife. I need income. I need cash. So Realty Income and Vici look really good because they're paying me a 5% dividend, 6% dividend. If I own $50,000 of Vici and it pays me a 5% dividend, each year they give me $2,500. Hey, that feels good. Some gratification is being had throughout the year. That's fine. Back to my 25-year-old son. He doesn't need any of this money. So I'd rather put his money in a stock that can do this. Or another stock that he's in is Robinhood. And Robinhood has just been flourishing. So you want to be able to grab like 6, 10, 20 stocks that are just growing really fast and are going to take your like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 that you've worked very hard to put into your funds. And as you put more money in, because if you're a young investor, you're going to be working, making money, and putting money into your fund. Put it into growth stocks. Get good at finding these growth stocks and be patient. Be good at each earnings. You got to be disciplined. Read the Robinhood earnings report. What did they do? What makes them successful? What are other investors looking at? Like yours truly, I do videos on Robinhood. Other people do videos on Robinhood. What did Robinhood show investors that compelled them to take this stock that the market said, you know, Robinhood's terrible. We're going to sell it off. And actually, this chart is more like 90% sold off. This is where I invested in Robinhood, and it's flourished. Okay, what did I see? Oh, learn that from other investors. Learn to buy these stocks in this era. Learn from Nvidia. Okay, now look at multiple investors. If you listened to me, you would have heard some caution like, whoa, this thing's, I don't get it. Why would companies spend this much money on GPUs? It's an unproven business model, AI. I don't think that's wrong. That statement is not incorrect. They're not making money on AI. But I was wrong in how the market really bought GPUs. If you would have listened to Daryl, so you listen to at least 3 investors, okay? Take opinions from across the board and qualified where you're getting information on companies. Qualified means if somebody's just like talking about the latest stock that's hot, I wouldn't listen very much. But if you like listen to Daryl, he puts a lot of time, energy, thought process into how he invests. Learn what he's doing. You may not copy what he's doing, but at least you appreciate, okay, that guy's putting thought into how he makes decisions. You listen to 3, 5 investors, know where you're getting your qualified information, and they make good decisions, right? So young investors, go find the next Nvidia, go find the next Netflix, go find the next Robinhood, go find the next Meta. I would not buy Vici or Realty Income for my 25-year-old son. Just wouldn't do it. It's not the right thing for him.
Yeah, and I didn't invest in that either when I was 20. I was looking for growth, just like you're explaining.
So when I was in my 20s, I'll tell you some stocks that I bought. Microsoft. I'll give you the good ones and the bad ones. I bought Microsoft. I also bought Sun Microsystems, which back in the day, Sun Microsystems was a little bit like NVIDIA. It was the most popular server equipment for the internet. It was the fastest, it was the best, and all that good stuff. And then I bought Webvan. Webvan did grocery delivery, and I was right. You know, grocery delivery, food delivery with the internet's going to work. I was just way too early. This is like mid 90s, late 90s. So I lost almost my whole investment in Webvan. I lost substantially on Sun Microsystems, but I made a lot of money on Microsoft. So you're going to have to, you know how like the fairy tale says, you know, you have to kiss a toad to find a prince. You're going to have to kiss a few toads, and some of toads are going to be toads. Some of them are going to turn to these, you know, handsome princes or princesses, and that's investing. And I learned along the way. I learned how to qualify like companies that, hey, these are the companies that I want to own. I started buying into tech, started buying into pharma. For a while, my pharma stocks were just doing great. And that's another part of a young investor's, I think, agenda would be, hey, find good businesses that have a great story for the future, that have very good fundamentals that we can put our heads around. All right, so I think that answers the question. Good question, Cream Biggins. All right, good. So let's take a look at where the stocks are trading. So we got Google and Meta trading up. Okay, the
Yeah, the
trade's
three
fading a little.
aggressive sectors are the ones leading the market right now: communication services, consumer discretionary, and technology are all at the top. Financials are at the top. So you have four of the five aggressive groups
Mm-hmm.
leading the markets today, which is really good news.
It it's mixed news for me, which is, see, these are the biggest market caps. So if these guys move, it moves the S&P. But it to me, it's not like the participation's not great. Med device is down, healthcare is down, telecom is down, energy's down, consumer staples are down, Tesla's down. Software applications, they just don't get a lot of love anymore. That's down. So, I mean, I'll take a win when the win is to be had. These are my two biggest positions. Collectively, this is like 20% of my portfolio. So I'll take it. And then I own a lot of Amazon, so I'll take it. But it's nicer to see when you see a lot more green and maybe lower numbers, but it is what it is. And S&P's faded. It opened higher, and now it's fading. What's going on? Huh, interesting. See how the big caps are really flourishing, but the S&P is only up 33%. And that's my point, is there's no participation in I guess call it the rally. It's a modest rally because the big caps are really up, but a lot of stocks are down or just nominal. All right, um, so let's take a look at what's coming up on earnings and see if it's going to get interesting. So today, oh, excuse me, I'm on the 8th. Today, I've never heard of this company.
I know Delta reports this week. They're one of the first ones.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So AZZ provides hot dip galvanizing and coil coatings solutions in North America. Okay, so this is an industrial. They do services for this type of thing. Okay. Um, Tomorrow, Delta is going to announce before the market opens. Conagra is going to announce before the market opens. But these, in today's era, right? You got Nvidia at 4 trillion. 33 billion is not going to move anything. It's just going to be oh, hey, Delta announced. It'll tell us a lot about the travel industry. Are people traveling? It might even tell us a little bit of how confident businesses are. If there's a lot of business travel, there's a lot of transactions happening. There's a lot of commerce being taking place, or taking place, I should say. Um, so that'll be interesting to gather from the Delta earnings. I'm also looking for Levi. You know, Nike did rally, even though they had, in my opinion, kind of a bad earnings, but they're like promising, hey, it's going to be better. That we've hit rock bottom. We're going to go up from here, and that might be the case. Vista, this one is in the energy complex, and I think this one's really flourished. Year to date, no, it hasn't. Huh. Vista Energy. Oh, oil and gas in Latin America. For some reason, I think I confused this with Vistra Energy, which is an energy producer. So this one's just a natural gas producer, and oil and gas, excuse me. Okay, so that one's not going to move the market much. WD-40, that's kind of an old school company. And then Friday, only one earning. Next week is when things really get going, really on Tuesday. You have JP Morgan, the big banks are coming up: JP Morgan, Wells, BlackRock, Citigroup, the Bank of New York. This is going to be a big, big day. And it's going to be all before the market opens on a Tuesday. So that'll be interesting.
We also get a CPI report, I think, on Tuesday morning. So that'll be
Okay.
another market mover.
Yeah, see where we are with inflation. And then next week, Johnson & Johnson, B of A, ASML. We'll see. And what's been, one of the things about like NVIDIA and the semiconductors is, if I recall, ASML had a problem with growth. No, they did not. They are growing. So the semiconductor space is creating demand for ASML. These guys make the big machines that semiconductor companies, the foundries that make semiconductors buy ASML equipment. These are big, expensive machines. It looks like their revenue growth was really good in the first quarter of 2025. So these guys are beginning to grow. What do you think of ASML?
It's not one that I follow too terribly close, but I know that they are pretty much a sole source for all of the most advanced chip production equipment.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, you've seen NVIDIA, what it's doing, and Broadcom and other semiconductor companies like AMD, but ASML over the last year is down 26%, which is contrary to my logic, which is, well, if semiconductors are selling at a high rate, the equipment to make semiconductors should also be selling at a high rate, and the stocks should be flourishing for ASML, but it's not the case, not at least for the 1 year. Year to date's better, 15%. That's looking good. To me, this is could be an opportunity when you see a stock depressed, but the amount of business they're doing, the growth rate is there on the most recent quarter. ASML might be an opportunity. So we'll take a look at those earnings when they come out and see if maybe that's a good stock to consider investing in. So ASML, T-Mobile the next week, Progressive Insurance, they've done really well. This is probably the best performing insurance company that I've observed. I haven't been an investor. I'm an investor in Allstate. I'm satisfied with my Allstate investment, but these guys have done better. 225 over the 5 year, up 20% over the 1 year, and they pay a dividend. So this is a nice stock. And they've sold off recently. The one story that I think or some investors on the Discord were saying that the floods in Texas maybe are going to create a lot of claims for Progressive and all the insurance companies, and that might be the case. That's why we're seeing the sell-off in insurance. And that would be over here. This is where the sell-off, because it happened on the 4th of July. So it might explain a little bit of the tail end of this graph.
Isn't flood insurance separate from most companies? They don't cover flood? I thought that
I
was
don't know.
covered by different policies. I didn't think these kind of insurance covered insurance companies covered floods.
Yeah, that'd be good to investigate. But sometimes a news story will affect a particular industry just in general, like, oh, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of claims.
Exactly.
Like the fires in California, they kind of affected all companies temporarily, short term. All insurance companies were kind of taken down. But then once investors were able to determine, well, which companies are actually covering homes in California, then those numbers started to, or I should say, stocks began to adjust, either adjust up again or down further because they were very exposed to California. So that's what I think happened in insurance. All right. So yeah, it's going to get pretty active, and As we get into Thursday, we have Netflix. That'll be interesting next week. Elevance is out there, US Bank, Pepsi, Abbott, Novartis. And then on this, I skipped over a couple of days. Let me go back a little bit. So we have Netflix, J&J, Bank of America. Looks good. So it's going to be nice and busy over the next couple of weeks. All
Yeah,
right. So give me a second here if you want to.
I have 3 reporting next week, and then the 2 weeks after that is when I'll be really busy for my holdings.
You want to go ahead and keep sharing on that?
Oh, sure, I can do that. I actually put out a video this morning on it. Yeah, so next week is Citi, and then J&J and USB. And then if I add in week 30 and 31, that's going to be my busiest 2 weeks here. So we have RTX, Google, AbbVie, Lyondell Basel, CNC, which has been horrible the last month or so. Got a midstream company. Got some REITs, Pfizer, UPS, Asset Manager, another healthcare, United Health, Altria, Hershey, Prudential, Vici, Qualcomm, Q2 Holdings, EPR, another real estate trust. ADC is a real estate trust. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, ETR, which is my utilities company. They provide my electricity. And what an investment that's been for a utilities company. I cannot believe how well I've done on that one. But basically, my dividends I get from them, I haven't paid 1 penny in electricity in 5 years. So they pay all my electricity with dividends. And then finally, we have Chevron. So the next 2 weeks after next week are my busiest.
Very good. Yeah, I also own Chevron. Oil companies stocks have not appreciated, but the dividends are good. Dividends are good with Chevron.
Let's see how they're doing right now. They were up pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, they had a good day yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing today.
Down 1/4%.
Yeah, just a little bit. They're holding pretty much where they landed yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like the rally's fading a little bit. The S&P is now just up 0.18%, and the rally's really faded, which, it's not a big concern. It's like, I think investors are waiting for earnings. Like this week is kind of, it's not, I didn't expect NVIDIA was going to hit 4 trillion, by the way.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
There's
I expected it to
really
hit
not.
that if like, let's say Amazon and Microsoft came out and said, man, we're going to spend more money. Yeah, I would expect NVIDIA is going to shoot up. But this week it's like, okay, it went up. Interesting.
There's not much economic data coming out this week. It's really quiet on that front. So I think you're right. And we did have a little bit of tariff news on Monday that shook things up a little bit, but those seem to have got pushed out for the most part to August the 1st. So I think you're exactly right. I think the market going to trade sideways waiting for these earnings.
So I want to talk about two things before we conclude. So the tariff news. Am I following the bouncing ball correctly? So President Trump came out and said, okay, we're going to have tariffs. And did he come out and say, okay, I'm going to postpone it until August?
He sent out letters to 14 countries
Uh-huh.
uh, telling them that their tariffs were going to be going up unless they came to the table and did a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tariff frameworks in place for the big one, China, the UK, at least one or two other ones where they have the frameworks in place.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the smaller countries, I think they are just going to get a tariff attached to them. But he's given these 14 countries an ultimatum, basically, jump the tariffs up fairly high to get them to come to the table and get a framework in place. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's all due August the 1st. And then he said that was a hard deadline. And then he said maybe it's not a hard deadline. So we'll see.
Okay. So okay. So tariffs are kind of in process. Now the second thing is crypto. Do you follow crypto at all? Do you invest in crypto?
I hold crypto through IBIT, the ETF,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my only exposure.
Okay. So Bitcoin it's at 109,000 per Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. I own 1.27 Bitcoin. And the whole crypto space is looking um, very positive for the next year, next couple of years, because stable coins are getting a lot of attention, a lot of innovation around stable coins, and Bitcoin's continue to get more confidence, or that people are believing more and more in Bitcoin. If like I started investing in Bitcoin in 2017, and I kind of did it in privacy because the comments back then were like, oh yeah, like Charlie Munger, I liked his comment. That was my favorite. Oh yeah, Bitcoin's like rat poison. It was his comment. It
Yep.
was hilarious. It's like Charlie Munger doesn't understand crypto. He doesn't understand Bitcoin. He's an old school investor, and uh, God rest his soul. He was a great investor. I've learned a lot from reading about him and following him. But he just doesn't know Bitcoin, and I kind of stuck to it and kept buying. Um, Now the comments you hear, 6, 7 years later, are like very mainstream. Like Bitcoin is accepted. Bitcoin is here to stay. It's Having said that, um, very investable. You invest in it. You and I are older investors. We're both invested in crypto, and it's not a big part of my portfolio. It's overall, if I look at my net worth, it's oh man, 2% of my net worth, which is not a lot. And I don't plan to be a bit, put half of my net worth in Bitcoin. No, I don't understand it that well in order to put that type of investment into Bitcoin. So we'll follow that. I think that Bitcoin, what's neat about Bitcoin is it trades 24/7, and it sometimes trades with stocks, sometimes it doesn't. What I've observed recently is it hasn't traded with stocks. It's kind of done its own thing. So that's been encouraging because I think it should do its own thing. All right, good. So, all right. So with that, let's kind of end it there. I wanted to have a quick stream here on Wednesday. Thanks for
Let me
joining me. Go
let,
ahead.
Let me add one more thing on the tariffs. The tariffs were announced after last quarter. So companies did not do any reporting or guidance around tariffs. This quarter, I think we talked about this before we went live. This quarter, we're actually going to have some effect of the tariffs. So it's going to be very important that we all listen to the guidance that the companies are providing to kind of give us some insight on how companies think they're going to be impacted and how that's going to affect guidance. So tariffs are
Mhm.
going to have a play there. Just want to make everyone aware of that.
Yeah, and I'll
So
add
anyway, I'm
more
sorry
color
to
on that.
interrupt you.
No, it's a very good thought. And the one thing that I would put out there, I think you're going to probably agree, is depending on the industry, the tariff story is going to impact companies differently, right? Um, for example, healthcare. I don't know that tariffs in the first quarter versus second quarter are going to affect healthcare a whole lot. Materials, most definitely. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like the input cost of copper, that one did catch my attention. If you increase the input cost of copper, which is right now on the table, that could be really destructive to demand and have other impacts on the economy, in my opinion. Tariffs are going to affect industrials, communication services, not so much. Meta doesn't get charged a tariff. Netflix doesn't get charged a tariff. Those guys are kind of tariff neutral. They don't get affected. Technology, a little bit, but like software, it's, and actually technology could be hit because our trading partners could say, well, we know technology is the biggest sector of your economy, so we're going to start charging you a tariff on software. So if Microsoft sells software to a company in China, it's going to be charged a tariff, or in Germany, it's going to be charged a tariff. So that could happen. Financials, not really tariff, other than if it can, if the economy slows down, financials will struggle, but not directly tariffs. Utilities, maybe their maintenance costs go up some, but I don't think it's a direct tariff hit. Consumer staples, absolutely. That's where tariffs could show up, especially for consumables. Energy, I don't think so. Consumer discretionary, absolutely. This one will get hit hard. Nike shoes, electronics. This is this is kind of like the probably the face to tariffs is consumer discretionary. And then real estate, I don't think it's going to be a direct tariff hit. So depending on the industry, tariffs will impact them. Um, I think when they talk about tariffs, they're thinking about products. They're thinking about cars. They're thinking about stuff that we're buying at Walmart. They seldom think about, hey, Disney, when they put out a movie, there's no tariffs on it. And who put out the F1 movie? Apple did. There's no tariff on that movie, and it's doing really well. So I would point that out. All right. Anything else, Daryl?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you're putting out a lot of research on like kind of pre-earnings, and that's on your channel. You want to take us there real quick? Give us a quick tour before we conclude.
Sure. Okay, so here's my channel. So I just did my REIT portfolio review.
Hmm.
If Cream Bigums is interested in seeing that, but remember that I'm an old guy looking for income. And then for each one of the companies that I hold, I create short videos, 8 to 14 minutes long, depending on the information that I have available on the company. Basically showing valuation at a high level from a fundamental perspective. And then I look at the charts to see what the relative strength and the momentum of a company moving into earnings. And then I also calculate the implied earnings move based on the options market. And that gives me some idea of what we could expect for price movement for companies. So I find that pretty helpful because if I don't calculate that, I don't know how much a company's going to move. But at least if I look at options, it gives me an idea. I share all that kind of information in these videos, and I usually try to get them posted at least 5 days ahead of time. And then I also do upcoming earnings reports for the next week. So I just published one of those as well, just a day or two ago, and that covers Citi, USB, and J&J for next week.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Perfect. So, Daryl, have a good day. I
You
will
do too,
for
Victor.
sure communicate with you on Discord. If not
Okay.
today, probably tomorrow. And everybody, good luck with your investments. Hopefully, you're in some of these green stocks we're seeing out there that are flourishing today. And I'm going to stream on Friday evening. It's going to be a little late. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to stream with a younger investor, Fred. So maybe some of your younger investors that attend. Fred's a young guy and real smart. He has a YouTube channel. And I really like having that type of perspective so that you can see how Fred's looking at the market and trying to make the best moves for his portfolio in the current market. So tune in on Friday if you'd like to hear that. For members of the channel, we're going to have a call tonight. We had a really good call yesterday morning. And then tonight, we're going to have a call 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, trying to serve the Pacific Coast membership. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a call at 1 p.m. on Eastern. And that one's usually really well attended. And so if you're a paid member, attend the member calls. I think you'll get a lot out of them. And hopefully I'll see you on it. And in the meantime, you can get a hold of me on Discord. You can comment on videos. If you need anything, let me know. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Or you can email me. So everybody have a terrific day. And thanks again, Daryl. We'll
Okay, thank
talk
you.
soon. We'll see you
All
guys.
right. Everyone have a great day.